Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Horse Center, your place for news for ponies and personalities. Tonight, we got with us jockey Vernon Bush. How are you tonight, Vernon?
I am doing well, and thank you.
Oh, thank you for coming. We were joking before we came on that he's wearing a what the hell did I call it now? Like a souvenir or something because Suffolk's not
Yes,
around anymore. Oh, it's a collector's item.
a
That's what I
collector's
said.
item. Yes,
Mhm. So you had mentioned that you were visiting the track not too long ago, kind of
yes,
reminiscing about the
yep.
old days, huh?
Yes. I was up there in November, and just got to walk through the grandstand and walked a little bit of the racetrack. The barn area is completely gone, but there's still a lot of memories there.
Mm. And a lot of money there too. Massachusetts has a pool for horse racing, but they don't have any horses to spend it
Right.
on.
Well, they have a harness track called Plain Ridge.
And is that getting all the money? Because I know
I think
some
they
of it
might.
was specifically allocated for thoroughbreds.
Yes. Oh, I do know that they still have a stake race program for Massachusetts breds, and the races are run at Finger Lakes, the Massachusetts bred stake races.
Yeah, maybe you can put together a group of retired jockeys and go open a track up in the Boston area. That I'm sure the folks around there would love it.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would.
So where are you now?
I live in Newport Richey right now, and I'm currently galloping horses at Tampa Bay Downs.
So you, Shawn and I mistakenly, Shawn, I blame
I'm,
Shawn.
I'm 0 for 2 on saying that jockeys are retired. I'm never putting the word retired out there again.
Do jockeys ever retire, Vernon?
I'm sorry?
Do they ever retire?
I really don't think so. We just go on hiatus.
So you
You
plan on
know
coming back to the track? Tell us about your
what?
plans to come back.
I'm sorry.
So you're telling us that you have some plans to come back to the track because you want to go out on your terms. What are
Yes.
your
Well,
what are your terms?
in 2018, I was riding a little bit here and there at Belterra Park,
Hmm.
and I had a horse flip on me one morning, and I shattered my ankle and fractured my hip in a couple places, and I had to have two surgeries on my ankle. Once my ankle was healed, they operated on the hip, and they actually had to replace the hip. And I started getting back on horses about 2 months later after the hip surgery, and everything was going great. And I had my weight back down, and I was working a horse, and it fell with me, and I shattered my femur.
Mm.
So I was out another 9 months for that, and I started back galloping horses about a year ago in Tampa, and I stayed down here this year.
So are there any parts you haven't broken?
Um, I don't think so.
So it's easier to keep track of what's not broken then because you don't have much to
Yes,
bring up, right?
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So you're on horses now, obviously,
Yes, I
but
get on. I'm
it's been
sorry,
something you've been around your entire life, right? Tell us a
my
little bit
entire
about
life.
your beginning with your dad. And I read that you said he made you ride every rat that was around.
Yes. When I win the third race I ever rode, and and then I think I win one about a week later, and he did not want me to start my apprentice so fast, so he kind of took my book as my agent, and he made me ride, I think, 120 horses that absolutely had no shot. And I was riding at River Downs and Beulah Park where he could keep an eye on me because I actually grew up in northern Kentucky. Um, and then he hooked me up with John Nayrud in New York, and I went up there in December of '78, and I started riding for John, and then his son Jan took over. And yeah, so he made me take my time, and it was more beneficial to me than I really thought at the time, you know?
Every now and then Dad knows best, right?
Oh, of course.
Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, well, my dad rode races for 32 years, so he would know.
Yeah, looking at how many you're riding too, I mean, you don't see this too much nowadays. I mean, 1982, you were over 1,500 mounts. 1981, you're over 1,300 mounts. Just describe how much different it was back then than it is nowadays.
Yes, yes. You know, I was riding basically 10 races a day almost, you know, and then on the dark days, I was in the fall, I'd ride at Suffolk Downs in the day, and then I'd hop on a plane and fly to the Meadowlands and ride there at night, you know, and I was doing that all fall, you know.
What's the proudest moment of your career? What's the one ride that you always look back at and go, that's my greatest accomplishment? And then what's the one ride that may keep you up at night, or a horse that kept you up at night that you thought you could have done better on?
My greatest accomplishment was the first stake race I ever rode in my life. 1979, was in the Lou Smith Memorial Handicap at Rockingham Park. I got the mount because I was the only one that could tack 106 pounds at the time. A horse called Bo Britches. And we ended up winning it, paying, I think, $137. And that's one of my greatest accomplishments, I think, because, you know, I mean, you know, that was my first stake race ever. And let me see, mounts. I rode a horse called Jockey in the Discovery Handicap. And I think if I had waited a couple more jumps, I would have won it. I ended up getting beat a nose. And, you know, that's the only one I really think that bugs me every once in a while.
Yeah, we actually were talking about this yesterday. Rich was missing out in his tournament by noses constantly, and I said, you know, as a bettor, you always look at the replay and go, oh, you could, if this jockey would have just done this, he would have. Is that something you did as a jockey? You would always look at the replay and go, oh, that nose I could have made up here.
Oh yes, I mean, I watched everything I rode, and you know the replays because I wanted to better myself. And what I would do is I'd always have an older jockey around me that I would look up to, and I'd ask them to please tell me what my mistakes are. And I mean, whenever my dad used to come up to New England and watch me, I mean, he really pointed out a lot of things, and it helped me mature myself as a rider.
Now, when you're officially done as a jockey, I jumped the gun. I apologize for that.
Well, that's fine.
When you're officially done as a jockey, what do you see yourself doing with horse racing?
Well, I a couple years ago when I did when my ankle was still broke, I was the custodian of the jockey room at Belterra Park, but I would like to get in to being an official and help mentor younger riders and something on that basis, you know, where I can be constantly around the races and because I mean I enjoy watching the races still to this day.
Are there any younger riders you watch now that's not mainstream? I mean, you got the obvious choices, but anybody that's kind of off the radar that you see a real bright future with?
Well, there's this girl, Skylar Spanabel. She comes to me every day, and she asks me if I watch her, and I have, and she's listened to a couple things I said, and one day, well, I had spoke to her a couple days about doing something, and she ended up doing it and winning a race, and she found me the next morning and thanked me, you know, and it's just little things I'll bring to a young rider's attention. Not I'd never do anything to hurt them in any way. It'd be only to improve their riding, you know, so where they're not going to get themselves hurt or hurt anyone else, you know.
So what would you say the biggest mistakes, or let me say the biggest, let me rephrase that, the most common mistakes that you see young riders make?
Moving too early, and and not helping a horse down the lane and holding one together.
When you say holding it together,
Like keeping one gathered up when they're starting to get tired,
Mhm.
and being able to go with the momentum of the horse, and try to keep it encouraged into the race when they're getting tired.
Mhm. So you do that by a little bit of encouragement with the whip, a yaw. I mean, what are the
Well,
sorts of things that you
when a
do?
horse is getting tired, they try to they'll sometimes they'll drop their head, and they'll rely on you to help hold them, hold them up. And I see a lot of riders, a lot of young riders, kind of coming down the lane with loose reins, and it's not really helping a horse finish.
Uh-huh. So as a horse player like myself,
Yes, sir.
who keeps losing by noses, but not today. Today I managed to qualify for the
Okay.
tournament. But so if we're making notes and we see a jockey that tends to have loose reins coming down the stretch, we ought to make a note of that, huh? This horse better be a real strong closer.
Right. I mean, you always, I mean, for me, I always wanted to keep a horse gathered up. I mean, that's the way I was taught. I was taught old school. Most of the riders that helped me were riding back in the 50s and the 60s, in the early 70s. And I had to learn a lot of old school riding, and one of the main things was keeping a horse gathered up and getting in a good position, and just trying to save horse and help one finish.
Mhm. So Jordan Parks wants to know, as a veteran jockey, what's become more difficult in the later years of your career?
Okay. As me, my weight started getting to me, and the reducing, and the more I reduced, the harder it became. And and at that point, I had to retool my riding, where before, when I was younger and I didn't reduce, I could basically keep riding a horse and keep them encouraged the whole way. Where later on in life, I had to basically change a lot of style, where I would try to get myself a good position, get myself set up perfect, right, or perfect where I would want to be, and finesse, where I might not be able to finish as strong, but I would use my mind, would help me win races by trying to outthink and capitalize on their mistakes.
And then we have Robert Bryan wants to know, is there one jockey that you always looked up to? And I'm going to say you can't include your dad.
Oh, I cannot include my father.
No, you cannot include your father. Because we already know that's a given, right? When you take geometry, the first part of a geometry question is a given. So we know that dad's number one. So who's 1A? Who's the entry?
That would be Carl Gambardella, a New England jockey. I loved riding with Angel Cordero, George Velasquez. I rode with all the big New York riders. But Carl Gambardella and Herbie Hinojosa helped me the most. And Don Meade Jr. I mean, there was a slew of multi-talented riders in New England, and they didn't leave because it was their home. And another one I look up to is a man we call the Iron Man, and he's still going, and that's Perry Oots. He rides in Ohio and Kentucky. I think he's 67 years old, and he was just leading rider again.
Wow, 67 and leading rider. Yeah, we just talked to Tony Black, and
Tony and I are very good friends. We rode a lot together in New Jersey.
He broke news on this show saying he's coming back. And I think that's the other retired one. Sean got messed up, but
yeah, that was the first one. So you're the second one. So no more R word for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
yeah. So Tony said he's coming back.
You know,
he wants one more win.
I still wanted to ride. I still love to ride races. And when I got hurt, it was just 3 injuries right straight in a row. And I would like to ride and not ride the cart every day. I'd like to ride a couple every day and you know, just enjoy it. And when I feel I've had enough, I'd love to go out just a winner.
So if you were to ride again, and let's say you were to end up in the winner's circle, would you just, even if you had another mount in the cart, would you say to an apprentice jockey, this one's yours, buddy. I just won. I want to leave this way.
When that time is right, yes. You know, just walk out of the winner's circle, the proudest person in the world, to know that I did something. I actually did a job that I knew I was going to do when I was 3 years old. And how many people in the world can say that they knew what their profession was going to be when they were 3?
Not many. You know? I can't even remember when I was 3.
I mean, I had my own silks. I had my own jock pants. I had my own helmet. I used to run around the jock's room all the time with my father, and when I was in school, they would actually ask me my name, and I would tell them my first name was Jockey, you know. And one time I guess I was sick, and the school called my mom and said, "Your son Jockey, you need to come and get him." And she goes, "Who?" You know. But I just knew what I wanted to be, and like I said, I've been blessed.
Well, Don, you got a neighbor there. So Don says, thanks for sharing your story. Steve wants to know, with over 25,000 mounts, what was the best horse you ever rode? I think you kind of covered that one, right?
Well, the best horse I rode were Coit. I rode a horse called Let Burn. Let me see. Rode a filly called Bood, who was a Canadian champion. Jocks Who. I rode him in the Meadowlands Cup, finished second in Discovery on him. Let me see. There's just so many, you know.
I can imagine, yeah, with all those mounts. And you were pretty consistent too, because looking at the numbers, you had almost an even amount of numbers of wins, places, and shows. So it looks like you're pretty regularly in the mix there. So when you're not at the track now and you're not recovering from some sort of injury, what do you do for fun?
Well, I just went to a movie with a friend of mine. And I like going to the beach. There's a couple parks down here I like to go around, walk around. And you know, just little things, you know. I like doing little things now. And I just get enjoyment out of sometimes just sitting there and just looking at the water, you know.
Yeah, that's something we don't really get to do in Chicago much. I can head over to Lake Michigan every now and then, but it's been getting a little crazy over there in the summertime.
Go to the Navy Pier if you're in Chicago. The Navy Pier.
That's nice, but it's been getting a little wild in the summers up here nowadays. So
really?
You got to be a little bit cautious. Kevlar hats and Kevlar vests. Sean, anything else, my man?
So Vernon, what was your favorite track to ride at, and what track haven't you ridden at that you would have loved to ride at?
Okay, well, I've ridden at every racetrack on the East Coast, and I've won races at every track on the East, except for Colonial. I shipped in there and rode one day. I went in to ride a stake, and I ended up picking 3 other horses up and had a couple seconds. But every track from Massachusetts, Jersey, New York, all the way down to Florida, I've won races at every track there.
So when you were running races, another question for you from Jordan. When you had the favorite, did you feel more pressure when you were on the favorite? Or we've talked to other jockeys and they said they never even look at the odds board.
I don't. I never did. I just went out there and rode every horse to the best of my ability, and you know, and I tried on everything. You know, because I mean, I love doing what I do. You know,
Do you feel like if you had looked at the odds board and know that you were on a 1 to 5, that maybe you would have felt more pressure?
no,
No.
no.
Do you look at the odds after the race?
And say, why didn't I bet a couple dollars on it? Used to sometimes, but not
Especially
really.
in that first stakes race when you came home for $100.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes.
A few dollars
And-
more than that, you might have made twice what you made riding the horse.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just, yeah, that's the way. Well, I mean, the first horse I ever rode at Suffolk Downs, I think paid $75, and the first horse I ever rode at Rockingham Park, I think paid $40. You know, so I've had a lot of long shots in my life and a lot of favorites.
So when you head over to Tampa and you're done riding in the morning and the races are about to start, do you ever go over and put a few bucks on the horses, or is that something that doesn't appeal to you?
I mean, there's been a couple horses where, I mean, the most I'll bet is $10, and I've went over there like 3 times and run second 3 times in a row. So,
Yeah, don't feel bad about that. We had a guy on the show named Bill Krakenberger who was on the show called Action. It's about, I don't know if you've ever seen it on Showtime, but it's actually a really fun show to watch if you're into like sports betting or fantasy football or anything like that. So we're on the show and this guy bets $20,000, $30,000 on a basketball game, right? But we're talking about horse racing and he'll only bet $6 to $7 or something like that on horse racing.
really?
Yeah. So we're talking about horse racing. We're like, oh, this one was claimed for $20,000.
Yeah.
And what did he do, Shawn?
He took out the chips. He was in a casino. He took out $20,000 worth of chips and said, we can buy the horse right now.
So
Wow.
that's a lot of fun. So maybe we can do that. We'll head down there with Bill and we'll buy a horse. Did you ever think about being an owner?
No.
No, that's an emphatic no. There's a reason why that no is so emphatic. Tell us why.
My ex-wife who trained and she owned, and nope. I'm not going that. I'm not going to do that. No.
Too much work or just not enough reward?
Not enough. I mean, a good horse, a cheap horse costs more than a good horse. And because I mean, you got to really work on a cheap horse, and I mean, they eat the same, they do the same, but the vet bills and I like getting on them and not the further responsibility, you know.
Understood.
I'll leave that to the trainers and everything else. So.
Well, maybe when you're done, if you feel like it, if you want to be a part of a horse racing podcast where we can sit down and we can break down races, you're more than invited to join us.
Oh, boy, thank you. That would be awesome. Yeah,
no, I'm dead serious. Shawn and I were talking about that because we don't have that perspective that you have, right? Because you were in the heat of the battle.
Yes.
So you'll see things that we just never came. We would never know to look for them. And
now you have to.
Go ahead,
you have to keep us in check when we're totally out of line and we don't even know what we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of things in a race that you'll notice that we won't notice because it's not like, it's kind of like, I equate it to like a rock band, right? When you're a fan in the stands, they can completely screw up in the concert and you would not have a clue. Maybe 3 fans in the stands would know.
Right? Probably, yes.
But every person on that stage knows they just goofed up.
Yep.
Right?
Definitely.
So that's the kind of stuff that I figure we can learn from a jockey that no way we can pick up by yourself. So let's say, what barn do you ride for in the mornings at Tampa?
Okay, I get on horses for a man named Steve Cahill, Aldana Spieth, whose husband is Scott Spieth, the jockey. I get on horses for Scott Acker and Victor Russo out of New Jersey.
So the next time I'm down visiting my folks, I'm going to definitely look you up and we'll get together. Maybe, I don't know, what's the primary food down there? My mom tells me there's a great pizza place on that highway we spoke about. That's 60
on 19. I there's a place called the Lucky Dill I like going to. And then for breakfast, the best in the world is a restaurant called Lenny's.
Lenny's?
Lenny's, and it's right past the Philadelphia Phillies Stadium. I mean, the best breakfast you'll ever get.
All right. Well, the next time I'm down there and you're not worried about weight, we'll look you up and we'll go have breakfast at Lenny's. How about that?
That would be awesome.
I'll make Shawn pay for it too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the money.
Okay.
So Nick Stollerant, I hope I got that right, Nick. He says that you used to ride for his dad's horses and that they loved you.
Who's that?
Nick Stollerant, Stlaurent.
Where did I ride for him at? Did he say?
No, he didn't say that. Thank you for representing us New Englanders, Chris Parmelo. We love South Folk shirt. Yes, indeed. And he's got the Larry Bird poster there. And actually, Chris and I will be talking in the not too distant future. So he said that you used to ride at Northampton Fair.
Well, what I would do is on the dark days, I would, from Suffolk or Rockingham, I would go out to the little Northampton. In fact, I would go to Marshfield, Brockton, Northampton. And it's just, I loved riding races. And it didn't matter where I was at. And one summer I was riding at Finger Lakes. And I went up to Saratoga and rode a horse for Mr. DeMauro, Steve DeMauro. And I won. And the very next day I was riding at Northampton for a $2,000 purse. You know, just I loved riding races.
John Caravou says, hello, my longtime friend. I hope I got that Caravou right.
Yeah, John Caravou. Yes. Yep.
He says hi. He's on the show watching as well. So
cool.
All right, Shawn. Any final thoughts before we let Mr. Bush be on his way?
No, I think that's it for tonight. We thank Vernon Bush for coming on, and we'll definitely have you on again. I'm sure there's tons more stories with all the years you have ridden.
Awesome. I'd love to come back on anytime you need.
And I'm not kidding when I say we would love to have a third person who understands the races better than we do in terms of what they see. I'm looking at numbers and saying which one's going to improve, which one's not going to improve, which one will be faster at the end, trying to put them all in a hat and pick one out that might win. But
yes,
that's a lot different than analyzing a race.
Oh, yes, it is.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming, Vernon. It was my pleasure. I speak for Shawn too that we apologize for retiring you early.
Oh, that's fine.
Absolutely.
That's fine. That's fine.
We're gonna be your biggest fans to get that win for you and retire on your terms.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very, very much. And you guys have a great night.
Thank you. You have a great night as well. We'll be in touch. Have a great evening.
Right.
Thanks again. Bye-bye. As always, Shawn, you got a big head. Always.
As soon as the guest leaves, right? I'm in. Always. As
soon as the guest leaves, you're in like ET head mode, right?
Yeah, I become the star. How bad is that?
I don't know that that's possible. No, just kidding. No, the guests are the stars, Shawn. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
Our philosophy from the beginning was to talk about the personalities of the sport, right? It's not about us. We're just the conduit, man. That's it. And we bring them in. We ask them questions. We're glad that the people who are watching are also putting questions out there because it makes it easier for us because I can't think of everything, at the top of my head.
Yeah, and it's so nice to put a name, just a name and percentage that you see on the paper in the form, online, wherever, and put it to a face and a personality and know who that person is beyond the rider.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Well, speaking of riders, the top rider for a couple of years in a row over there, Oisin Murphy, I think I pronounced his name correctly. My man is in a little bit of trouble over there. He's going to spend, 11 months and then an extra 100 days for, what is he, drinking on the job, showing up with a horse with COVID or something? What was the COVID all about? You can't go to a horse when you have COVID?
Yeah, I didn't understand that part. I thought maybe he was going to other tracks or something. He was breaking some kind of COVID restrictions and then lying about it. Yeah. But he definitely had an alcohol problem, was failing tests there. And he says he's gotten help with that. And he wouldn't have done that stuff, obviously, without the alcohol. So he'll have to serve his punishment and then hopefully come back a new man. And
I think most folks who've thrown a few back, Shawn, probably have had some moments that if they were on camera, I'd be a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, wouldn't do without alcohol. Absolutely.
It gives people bare muscles and turns 140 IQ into 14. Anyway.
Yeah.
What's this all about, Shawn? Still more questions than answers. And the questions are all about, what are the questions always about, Shawn?
Bob Baffert and Medina Spirit, right?
Money. And where's the money going to come from to pay for it? I think we all know that answer. Thanks, Jordan. We all know where that money is going to come from, Shawn. We talked about this before, right? With this HISA, and everybody's in a hurry to hand over the reins. It's kind of like the hot potato. We don't want this anymore, so let's kick it over to the government, let them handle it. And now they're talking about the money. There's no question where that money is going to come from, Shawn. It's going to come from purses, and it's going to come from the horse player.
Yeah, absolutely. And the horse player will, we talk about this
one
all
way
the
or
time,
another. We'll pay for it, right?
Well, yeah, we'll pay for it, and we'll still be playing too.
Of course we will. I mean, it's we're addicted. It's terrible. But in all seriousness, if you do have a problem, please seek help. I've known too many people in my life that had different sorts of problems that didn't seek help. If you need help, God, please go get it. And I mean that in all sincerity. And then finally, this Bob Baffert story by Medina Spirit just won't go away. So you asked yesterday, you said, oh, what about the bettors? What about the bettors? They must have been watching you because bang, what do? They filed a lawsuit against Bob Baffert and Churchill Downs. They want their HISA money, Shawn.
Yeah, and the whole part with this, and I know people are going to disagree with this, but the cream did not help Medina Spirit win that race. If that's what it was, that didn't help Medina Spirit win the race. So the best horse
the next time
that
I go
day,
play basketball or something like that, or little backyard football with the family, I'm going to go rub some of that on so I can.
Yeah, there you go. See if it works the same magic. I doubt it does.
I'll be flying, Shawn. Look at that flash.
If it didn't go beyond the cream, then the best horse on that day won the race. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but and it's one of those, if you had Medina Spirit, guess what? You won your money. If you didn't, it's the whole thing we talk about all the time. You're either sometimes you're on the right side, sometimes you're on the wrong side, but you always remember when you're on the wrong side. So that's why people
can I tell you,
and I understand it.
A God's honest commentary I had with somebody you and I both know, a common friend. Because I do some of the handicapping, write some of the articles and stuff like that, and put together some of the information for some of the packets that we used to put together. And when Medina Spirit won that race, I immediately sent out an email saying that I'm sorry I missed that horse, but that didn't look normal to me.
And I believe you texted me the same thing.
Correct. So, immediately. Yeah. So, maybe you think that the crema didn't help. But like I said, that race did not look normal to me because the horse just kept in a straight line, and it just did not look normal.
And I'll clarify too. The thing is, and this is the thing: if the cream didn't help, why did he do it? And also, if he did do it and it didn't help, why did he deny it from the offset? So I can see that argument too. So
I'm not saying whether
who knows.
Or not. I just said, and you just immediately afterwards, I said something didn't look right about that to me.
Yeah, and I was like, man, do we really have to go with the negativity right away? And then a couple months later,
not even a couple months, 3 days later.
Yeah, it was 3 days later. Yeah, you're right.
Man, this came out, and I was like, Anyway,
yeah,
and and Bob, if you're watching, no offense, brother, I don't know that if it's put on or not. I'm just saying the race did not look normal to me. All right, Shawn, tomorrow night, we're going to be back, I think, with a pretty exciting guest. We're going to go from one end of the spectrum, somebody who's at the end of their career, not retired yet, Shawn, to somebody who's just starting their career and doing so with a big bang. Who am I talking about?
Yeah, 20-year-old trainer Riley Grutston. She does a lot at Delta Downs Evangeline. She'll ship here and there, too, for 20 years old and just starting. She's had quite a bit of success. And
any success at 20 years old is noteworthy, right?
Yeah,
look at us. It took us forever to get the 1,000 subscribers. Shut up, 55. Ooh, that's the first time I swore on the show. I apologize, folks. It's
some of these
G-rated.
I'm 36, and it's still hard to even say you're 36, and I'm sure, but you look back at 20 and go, What was I
20
doing
years,
at 20? I
man.
was not doing
Where'd you
this.
go? Yeah,
I was
wasn't
not
this
doing.
either.
Yeah, I wish I had my life that together at 20 years old. It's wow.
Yeah, I was doing like Ocean, getting myself in trouble. Yes, kids, you're not watching, right? My kids think I'm the most square dude ever, so that
Oh,
it's
I'm
got to
sure.
stay that way. All right. Anyway, Sean,
I'm
and
sure
then on
you tell a
Thursday
lot of
night,
stories on here.
oh yeah, I have plenty of things I did that probably people wouldn't believe, but like jump off the stairs twice thinking I could fly. I told you about that. In any case, folks, tomorrow night we have on the young trainer, and then on Thursday night, Vic Stauffer. We're going to go over the big races this Saturday at Oaklawn Park. Unfortunately, Thomas, the 22-1 international Tom, will be gone on Friday, but I think we will still put up our Saudi Cup picks. Thank you, Robert. We appreciate that. Make sure you tell your friends about us. We did hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I want to genuinely thank everybody who subscribed.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting that we hit it on 2, 2, 2, 2. Did I leave out a 2? If I did, sorry, because we add them up, it equals 10. And Sean says, I hope we don't wait till 3, 3, 3, 3 to get to 2,000. But I'm going to say at 3, 3, 3, 3, Sean, we're going to have 1 million.
That's good, because I was going to say, I don't even want 3,000 at that point. We got to be way past that.
Yeah, we're going to put them up the picks, Jordan. We're just not going to have a show unless I do it by myself, or maybe Sean decides to take off the day. But we'll probably just put the picks up on Friday because Thomas can't make it. So we'll definitely put them up. And then that's it. Terry and I will be back tomorrow at 12 o'clock to go over the Gulfstream card. Today, my Parks card was kind of crazy. I either won or ran off the board, which was nuts, Sean. I think at 12 races, I had 6 winners. So 50% winners is not bad, right?
Yeah, and I
But
know
I
you
had
were
a
saying
hard
about
time stringing together like exactas and trifectas and stuff.
I know you were saying about the twos and what 4 or 5 twos won, but they were pretty much all the favorites. They were like the dead favorites. So
well, what's nuts today is I took a couple in the contest, 5-1s that got bet down to like 6-5. So I don't know if we're affecting the odds or I'm just identifying the bad lines. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So please subscribe, and we can go further next week. We have a big lineup too. Julie Crone, Hall of Fame jockey. Pat Day, Hall of Fame jockey, and then Jose Ortiz on Wednesday. So
how do I approach Pat Day when I tell him that when I bet on him, I used to lose, and when I didn't bet on him, he won all the time? I'm not quite sure what to do with that.
Yeah, you can say that.
Crafty way to bring it up.
Yeah, say that and he'll laugh about it. I mean, most jockeys, they do their thing. They're trying their best, and us bettors are trying our best. So,
all right.
He didn't know Rich Beaglemeyer bet on him every time.
He had no idea. He's probably, who's that crazy guy yelling at me over there? Had too many. Anyway, if you haven't done it yet, there is approximately 3 hours left. You can get 15% off on your horse racing today gear. I mean, look at that shirt, Sean. That shirt is really nice. And on the backside, it has the 11, right? So you got number 11. Pair it up with the number 11 hat, and you will be styling. All the kids, I told Terry this last night. I brought up the hats and showed my daughter, who's 22 years old, right? She's a young kid, and I can't remember the last time I did anything where my 22-year-old daughter, after I did it, said, other than, Dad, cut it out. Like, you're acting stupid. She actually said, you know what, Dad, those hats are cool. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. What? I'm cool? That's nice to hear. You'll never be cool, Sean.
There you go.
Your son. You'll find that out.
Probably.
All
not.
right. That's it. So if you go over to horseracingtoday.net, hit that HRT gear, and then hook yourself up with some really good looking stuff, Sean. And that's it for tonight. Any final thoughts before we roll?
No, I ordered my gear today. Oddly, I ordered a 1, 3, 5, and 7. So I don't know what's up with all the odd numbers, but just color combinations. And I'll get more as we go.
I have like 5
definitely check that out.
Numbers coming as well with the matching hat. So I'm gonna look like I'm ready to go to Great America. That's it, Sean, for tonight. We hope everybody enjoyed the conversation with Vernon. I certainly did. And I mean it, Vernon. If you want to come back and help us break down races, I think that would be phenomenal. I know Sean's working on something that we hope to be launching sometime soon. It's going to be a big surprise, but when it comes, I think everybody's going to absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
All right, Sean, that's it for tonight. Good to see everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. And Terry and I will see you tomorrow. Until then, hopefully you win every single photo.